Entergy is proud to support programming on LPB and greener practices that preserve Louisiana.
The goal of our environmental and sustainability initiatives really is to ensure that our kids and future generations can be left with a cleaner planet.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
I'm sorry for what the victims went through.
LSU accused of failing to address sexual misconduct.
Decent likelihood that we'll have the initial doses before the new year.
The coronavirus vaccine and who gets it first.
We've taken a deep dive here.
A new report outlining a future more resilient Louisiana.
They're children of technology, so they love it.
Why what teachers told me about virtual classrooms may surprise you.
Hi everyone, I'm Andre Moreau. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of SWI. But first, a look at the coronavirus. The White House Coronavirus Task Force is putting the state on red alert, saying that we need more universal rapid testing. Today's number of new cases is more than 4,800. The total's now more than 216,000 cases of coronavirus, 6,233 deaths. Governor John Bel Edwards says our state is a few weeks behind other states in the country with high spiking numbers, but we are without a doubt facing a third stage of the surge.
This surge is clearly worse than the first two, and it is nationwide. It is not isolated to certain areas of the country. Increases are exponential in a surge. They're not uniform. So if you add 25 people to the hospitals today, for example, you might say, well, we're going to add 25 more tomorrow. That's not the way it typically works.
And now we'll look at other headlines making news across our state.
Cedric Richmond, after serving 10 years as a U.S. representative, is heading to the White House in the role of a senior advisor to President-elect Joe Biden. Richmond says his new post will help him help his native New Orleans, the state, and other southern states. The 47-year-old is the only Democrat and only black member of Louisiana's congressional delegation.
The title that I will have will be Senior Advisor to the President. It will be Assistant to the President and Director of Public Engagement.
The State Department of Agriculture is now accepting industrial hemp license applications for 2021. Ag Commissioner Mike Strain says any person growing, processing, or handling industrial hemp or hemp seed must have a license. There are 4 types of industrial hemp licenses. The state's energy sector growth is likely to be stifled even as the economy recovers from the coronavirus-triggered recession. Roughly 2,900 jobs in the oil, natural gas, and chemical sector are expected to return to Louisiana by the end of 2021. But with global demand down, the overall jobs outlook is bleak. Also, some multi-billion-dollar LNG terminals will likely not be built, which means more hurt for Hurricane Laura-ravaged Lake Charles. Mardi Gras parades for next year in New Orleans are canceled. It will be yet another enormous blow to the city's flatlining economy. Mayor LaToya Cantrell is asking the public for safe celebration suggestions. Some big festivals, though, could return to the Crescent City later in the year, depending on the state of COVID-19. 93-year-old Edwin Edwards, the state's only 4-term governor, is reportedly doing better after being admitted to the hospital for a second time this week. He was admitted for double pneumonia, but his wife Trina says her husband is responding well to antibiotics. He has tested negative for COVID-19.
This month, Louisiana Public Square will explore what a Joe Biden presidency could mean for our state. We'll also review the results of state races, constitutional amendments, and the sports betting proposal. Election 2020 airs Wednesday, November 25th at 7 p.m. on LPB and in New Orleans on WLAE. Visit lpb.org/publicsquare for a list of panelists. Several coronavirus vaccines are inching closer to FDA approval. Pfizer and BioNTech say their vaccine is 95% effective with no safety concerns. Louisiana's plan to roll out and administer the vaccine is set. I talked with Dr. Joe Kanter. He's the Interim Assistant Secretary of Public Health, and he says news of the vaccine is great, but he had warnings about our behavior for months and months to come.
In all likelihood, the very first doses would be allocated towards healthcare professionals who are seeing and treating COVID patients on the front lines every day. So think about the emergency department, nurses, docs, techs, and so forth, and same for the ICU. Other frontline workers would follow shortly thereafter, and that would be inclusive of people whose job puts them on the front lines, and also other essential workers. Think about police officers, firefighters, those types of individuals. Also included in that kind of immediate next category would be individuals who are they themselves at higher risk of death or high complications should they be infected. So nursing home residents would be included in that as well. There's a number of different vaccine candidates out there. Most of them are going to be 2 shots followed by some period, either 21 days or 28 days, depending on the actual type. One of the vaccines in trials right now is actually a single dose shot. We haven't seen data from that trial yet, so we'll see what happens with that. Certainly would be easier to administer if the trials pan out. One of the good things about the way the vaccine distribution planning is going is it's going to be multifactorial, and that it's going to be administered in a number of locations to get as much breadth and redundancy as possible. So hospitals will play a big role in administering it. Clinics will play a role. Commercial pharmacies will play a role. And there also will be a role for on-site administration in key areas like nursing homes. So all of that combined, I think, will give a pretty good breadth of coverage.
After you've mentioned all of those people considered essential frontline workers, then it's the general public, I guess. And how is that going to be administered?
Again, when it comes time for the general public, and we're probably still a number of months away before there's enough vaccine available for the general public. But it would also be likely in a combination of venues. Commercial pharmacies will have a big role. Clinics will have a big role. The parish health units operated by the Office of Public Health will have a role as well. So the goal is to make it available through a number of different avenues. Now, I will say, on one hand, it's really good to be talking about this because the vaccine is the light at the end of the tunnel. And we've been talking about closures and restrictions and everything else for so long. It's really nice to be talking about how we get out of this thing. On the other hand, we're still a number of months away before the time that we expect enough vaccine to be available for the general public. So there's still a lot of time on the scoreboard, so to say. We've got to still remember to be vigilant with our mitigation measures now because we still have a good amount of time before the vaccine will come.
What kind of time are we in general talking about, or do we know more specifically when the first time would be for the frontline workers?
I think a decent likelihood that we'll have the initial doses before the new year or right around the new year. Again, very limited in number. We expect nationally there to be around 5 to 20 million doses available for the first round. When you divvy that up by states, it doesn't go very far. More doses will be available, as time progresses. I don't expect to have vaccine available for the general public probably until late spring, early summer at the earliest. It's a really risky time for Louisiana right now. Over the past 3 or 4 weeks, we've watched almost every other state in the country experience very profound increases in their case rates. And we were able to hold strong and steady really up until last week. Now we're seeing cases increase. We're seeing increases in every region of the state. We're seeing increases in hospitalizations in every region of the state. We have Thanksgiving next week. We have Christmas and other holidays after that. And we know this is a time when families want to get together. They want to travel. They want to be with each other. And that's really challenging. It introduces a lot of risk. I think families are going to have very difficult decisions to make over the coming weeks. I'll tell you, if you talk to individuals or families who have had the unfortunate experience of knowing this virus up close, they will tell you that the temporary joy of bringing together your loved ones is not worth the potential permanent consequences.
LSU is reeling from a report in USA Today that it mishandled complaints of sexual abuse against students and top athletes. The investigation claims school administrators and athletic department officials ignored complaints. Reports show that at least 9 Tiger football players were cited for sex abuse and dating violence, and this took place since Ed Orgeron became coach in 2016. I spoke Thursday with Tom Galligan, LSU's interim president since January. He has hired a law firm out of state for an independent review of school policies.
We expect a full review of everything we do in terms of Title IX, both looking backwards and looking forwards. And what we're really seeking is we're seeking an assessment, but we're also seeking ways in which we can do better. While we take every allegation of sexual assault seriously, we investigate them thoroughly. We try to treat victims with sensitivity and hold ourselves accountable. This is an opportunity for us to do even better than we have done up till now. And that's what we're hoping that Hush Blackwell will help us to achieve.
When was the first time you heard of any of these allegations?
I've heard of the underlying events. The one case before I was in this role, and the other one as it arose in Washington. I heard about it then. So that's really when I heard about these. But I can't talk about details of individual cases because of privacy concerns. But I can certainly say, and I'll reiterate what I said regarding Hush Blackwell, is we're taking this as a serious opportunity for us to do better at LSU in terms of dealing with sexual assault and sexual trauma than we have done before. Andre, if there's one person who suffers a sexual assault on our campus, that's too many. And if there's one person who, no matter how we handled the procedure, who feels like we weren't sensitive or who feels like we didn't do it in a timely manner, then that's one too many. And while we'll never be perfect, in getting better, we're going to strive for perfection, because in the striving, we will improve.
One of the people alleging she revealed she was a survivor of her own sexual violence, a former tennis team member, and she says that she hopes LSU changes course and decides to be remorseful going forward. How do you respond to something like that?
I'm sorry for what the victims went through, and I want to thank them for coming forward, because that takes tremendous courage. So I mean, Andre, it hits me to my core, and it really is, and I'm going to sound like I'm saying the same thing again, but it commits me to taking positive action to make our situation even better tomorrow than it is today.
What has been the reaction of students, faculty, LSU staff members coming to you, seeing this for the first time in the report?
I think people are sad. People are sad, and people are committed to being part of a solution.
What does it do to the reputation of LSU?
It hurts, but I think if together we commit to improvement, and if together we say these things happened, we're going to acknowledge them, and we're going to study them, and we're going to educate ourselves even more than we have before. We're going to make ourselves more aware of these issues than we ever have before. We're going to remind ourselves that almost all of us on campus, if we learn of an incidence of sexual assault, we have to report it. We are responsible parties.
Having law as your background, and it's what you have done, does that give you a different viewpoint in seeing something like this that's a legal case?
It may give me a different viewpoint, that it makes me look at the issues from a legal perspective, maybe more than someone who wasn't a lawyer would do. with a commitment to vindication of rights, but to doing so fairly. So I think I do have that perspective. But when I graduated from law school, I was lucky enough that my classmates selected me as the speaker. And my talk that day was all about how we had gone into a cave and learned the law, but as we came out, we had to relearn our humanity. So even if I may look at some of these things as a lawyer, I look at them first as a compassionate human being who is a father and a husband and a family person. And so I look at it with empathy and compassion, even though I have my legal glasses on too.
All right, Tom, thank you much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Andre. Have a good day.
We know 2020 is going down as maybe one of the most devastating in our history, battling a pandemic that's crippled our economy. We've had 5 hurricanes we have had to endure. Economic leaders have been busy, though. Thursday came the announcement by a state commission, and I talked with LED Secretary Don Pierson about it. It's the new comprehensive game plan for a more resilient Louisiana.
It's more than just resilience for small businesses, which is important, but it's resilience for our workforce. It's resilience for our healthcare system. It's the state's fiscal status being resilient. So it's a lot of things, and we've taken a deep dive here. We've been very thoughtful, and this is stretched out for my co-chair, Terry Sterling, and I for quite some time. Organized with 15 separate task force that looked at various components of the economy. Came back and did with what I would call a term paper submission to the commission. The 15-member commission received all those documents, and if I stacked them up, we'd have almost 500 pages, and then carefully went through that to draw out both some short-term, near-term recommendations for the state, and then also some things that are longer term recommendations. If you wanted to break that down, you might call the first part of it tactical and the second part of it strategic. We created a document that you'll be able to see online, and we did it in a unique way. And when I talk about 500 pages of submission of charts and graphs and statistics and writing from these task force that did very important work, we didn't want to create a study that would sit in a bookshelf and gather dust or gather digital dust. Instead, we try to design something that's engaging, that whether you're an elected official, a business person, or a citizen, you're going to walk through this document. It's going to speak to you and allow you to understand some of the things that COVID, through the COVID lens, now makes us look at things differently, and the things that we can do to be a more resilient state. Certainly we see renewables and a lot of the solar and wind, and we actually do a lot of bio renewables with our wood pellets and wood waste materials as a segment of this. But importantly, things like broadband. COVID demonstrated how important it is to have robust broadband. If you're in a rural area, or I would suggest to you that there's a lot of digital deserts even in some of our cities across the state. And if you don't have Wi-Fi, it now means you don't have distance learning. You don't have e-commerce opportunities, and you don't have telemedicine. All of those things became critically important in a time when if you're a small business, you couldn't reach your clients, so your customers couldn't reach you. So the emphasis now on how important it is to have a digital storefront. Again, the pandemic has illuminated areas that maybe weren't previously considered as critically important.
Sometimes when you have a catastrophe, as we've had, as 2020 has been really, it creates the opportunity for doing something a different, better, completely new way.
That's absolutely correct. Many businesses have shown us that they can pivot and provide service in a completely different way than what we had initially imagined. So continuing to enhance the skill sets of the workforce for these more technically competent jobs, more complex jobs that are a feature of the future is making us want to continue to invest in our technical schools, our community colleges, of course, the four-year universities, and keep K through 12 strong.
One thing about this I find encouraging is that this does give people a chance to look a little bit into the future, and that there can show promise there.
Well, that's absolutely correct. We do identify some very important things. Again, can't take for granted healthcare. These are high cost centers for government, for taxpayers. And so the better job we do of maybe delivering healthcare through telehealth checkups and those kinds of things can make a better bottom line for the state, a better health outcome for some of these impacted populations, and just a more effective and efficient way for society to advance.
For more information, you can go to opportunitylouisiana.com. That's on the LED website, and look for Resilient Louisiana Commission. Day after day, schools around the state have had to adjust to all virtual classes as coronavirus has crippled things. You'd think teachers would find it hard to find good in this up and down school year, but maybe we don't know our teachers all that well. I spoke with two of them this week.
Joining me today is Nicole Nelson from Linwood Public Charter in Shreveport, a teacher, and also Michelle Lewis from MSA-East in Iberville Parish. Welcome to both of you. Thanks so much. Teachers in the toughest year perhaps ever that anyone certainly can remember. And let me ask you, Nicole, what is one thing that you've had to have to get through this year?
I had to be so flexible in my mindsets, in my my willingness to be able to change my hours, in everything. Every single day, there's something changing or something there's an alter. We have to make some kind of modification or alter something, whether it's curriculum, instruction, it's something in some way.
And one of the greatest challenges that we've had this year is just logistics. And so the logistics of, as Ms. Nicole said earlier, having to be flexible with students, flexible with the changes and phases that we go through, that as our district and our state goes from various phases, that our protocols on campus change as well. And we have students coming from virtual back to face-to-face. But with all of those changes, I agree 100% that flexibility has to be at the forefront.
Have you ever been in fear of teaching this year, concerned for your own health?
Me personally, no, sir. Not once. I'm very blessed that our superintendent, Cade Brumley, has put out several CDC protocols. He's been in conjunction with the Pediatrics Association. There's been full transparency on the risks and their mitigated risks. There's also been full transparency within Iberville Parish. And so we even had a district nurse come onto our campus and educate us all on how it's transferred, what the risks are, the percentage rate on why masks, and the various ways to wear the mask. And so just the different ways to ensure our safety, but ensure our students' safety.
Nicole, what about you? What about at your school there?
Now, we have those same precautions being taken. We actually have a community health center on campus. We're giving masks, we're giving face shields, we're spraying backpacks, we're taking temperatures, we're doing all of the things that you're supposed to do. But yes, before I walked into the classroom at the beginning and went into a classroom, I had that moment of, oh my God, am I safe enough?
I'm going to ask both of you this. We'll start with Michelle. Are the kids learning?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
I'm so grateful to be back on campus. I'm so grateful to have my students. When we first went into lockdown in March, it took a lot to go. I actually had to go to some of their houses, give some of them laptops. And even though it wasn't mandated, I still continued to teach. I still continued to log in with them, to call them, to check in with them. even went with goodie bags at their houses just to incentivize them. And then they stayed on. What blew my mind was that even when May hit and we were done technically with class, they were still logging in online. They were still asking for more. They were emailing me. They were hungry to learn and to continue their learning.
I know the children learning. I'm seeing it today. I was with a reading group, and just like she said earlier, the children do not want to leave. They're children of technology, so they love it, and they're pushing us. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I never thought I would, but I actually like the virtual teaching with the children because it's making me be more creative. I'm having to research more, learn more. How can I do this? And so it's pushing me to be better. And at the same time, I see these children, they're creating storyboards and jam boards to talk about how we can take a conflict out of story and alter the mood. I see the growth.
Have you had kids go out sick, though? Very many of them, Nicole.
No, and I have to say, here at our school, I have not seen a lot of kids sick because we were taking those. I mean, we have people who ride the bus. Before the children get on the bus, they're getting temperature checked.
Michelle, final word.
I agree. I think with any kind of change in general, the way that we are wired as humans, just physiologically, like any change kind of disrupts our peace. And so that's where knowledge and understanding and being aware kind of helps levelize that in our brains and helps give us stability. And once we have that, we have trust. And then studies have proven that for children to learn, they have to feel safe.
We have to make sure that everybody is okay and all right and safe, and then we'll be able to help children continue to learn.
All right, guys, thanks so much for being with us, and great success for the rest of the school year. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And everyone, that is our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our LPB app. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs that you've come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Moreau. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Entergy is proud to support programming on LPB and greener practices that preserve Louisiana.
The goal of our environmental and sustainability initiatives really is to ensure that our kids and future generations can be left with a cleaner planet.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.